Going on, everyone? Welcome back to another video of Sports with Warbs. Obviously, I'm here with John after what can be considered like the most frustrating series the Oilers have played. I guess since the Chicago series, which is kind of sad to say, but I don't know. I guess I could get into it.
Get fired
First off,
up! We get pissed off!
okay, man. Well, before I rage, I gotta give my respect. I want to give some respect to these Leafs guys. You guys have obviously been through a lot. I think the Oilers have been humbled a little bit by this experience, what I've experienced over the past 3 games. Fuck, dude. Where do I begin? I mean, there's a thing with getting out of the gate good and getting your first 10 minutes. You can get out there, you can play hard, and then you don't finish on anything, and then it's just like those 10 minutes are like what you rely on for the rest of the game. It happened in the second game, it happened in the third game. We played good out of the gate. You can't finish the goals. I mean, man, there's just so much to get into. I guess the best player tonight, I'd be curious to hear your information for the Oilers where the was Draisaitl. I mean, I guess he didn't have any direct turnovers.
Well,
Bear
on the
could have been the
on the
worst.
goal from McCabe, I don't know what Draisaitl and Nurse were looking at each other. I think honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if they were picking their ass or something there, because I was looking at that play and I'm like, okay, so let's just break it down quickly here. You have literally one guy in front. It's the winger. So we're not talking about, yes, Engvall's down low, and I get Draisaitl's giving him a little stick tap, but who's more of a threat? Engvall, who's at the side of the net with no angle, or Mikheyev, who's in the slot? When I look at that, Jeff, and I have Darnell Nurse, who's been kind of like raved as the best defenseman for the Oilers this year, and then you have Draisaitl. Again, I thought Draisaitl had a decent game, and I've been saying it in the chat.
Yeah.
And if I'm an Oilers fan, I am so I'm so outraged with like how long it took. Like Dave Tippett in this organization, you had something that was working. You literally had one of the best lines in the league. I'm not even over exaggerating when I'm saying that. Draisaitl, Yamamoto, and Nuge were the best line, or one of the best lines in the Western Conference, and one of the best in the league. You separate it, and what happens? Well, now it's just a shit show. And McDavid was so used to playing with Nuge. McDavid, it was painful tonight, man. Watching that McDavid, Puljujarvi, Archibald line, like that was just horrible.
Dude, no, well, it was Neil for most of the night.
Oh
Dude.
yeah, it was Neil to start. Yeah, it was Neil to start.
Actually probably had his worst game of the year. Like I don't like, and he's only played in like 10 games. Dude, I don't know what he was doing. You get this first line look with McDavid, and like, dude, the guy can't skate. The guy does not hustle. The only thing he's good for is the bumper position sometimes, like maybe better than Chase Song. That's literally what Neil brings to the table at this point. He's better than Chase Song at the bumper position, and that's arguable after the start of the year. Like, I don't know. I mean, that line was an absolute joke. There's a bunch of guys who could play. If you really want me to rage, there's a bunch of guys who are on the bottom of the line.
Get angry, man. People love to see you get angry.
Jones,
Everyone.
I mean, I don't know what he was doing. The Oilers D have been like switching up, and he finally gets his look, and this is how he does it. Ethan Bear, I mean, he's been bad since he's been back from injury. I'm sorry, but that's the truth. Like countless turnovers, just going down. They're going into like the NHL like 20 friggin' or any game for that matter for the past 3 years where they get down with like the one stick on the ice and they're laying down. The Oilers actually implement that strategy. So, I mean, like you said, I mean, I guess Draisaitl and Nygaard played decent games if we're looking for absolute positives. Smith was horrible. I was watching with my uncle and he made the point. I'd like to hear what your fans would have to say about this. Like, they yanked Koskinen after 3 goals. I actually think Koskinen might be worse out of the two right now, but they yanked Koskinen after 3 goals on like 8 shots last game. And then this game, they leave Smith in after pretty much like 3 goals on 11 shots. Just absolutely killing momentum. These games just weren't even. We were humbled. We were humbled. I'm sorry. I'm ready to play the shitty teams in the North Division again. I mean, I hope my Oilers fans, you realize I do love them. And the 12 games before this, they played great. But, I mean, this is the number one team. Like, they spent, to be honest, the Sportsnet feed also spent the whole night showing stats like 11-1-1 for the fucking Leafs, like all these stats. Props to you guys. We got humbled. It's frustrating to say. I still think this is a good team, but, I mean, the goaltending, I don't see how it could actually be addressed this year, but that's what needs to be addressed. I mean, the defense, they had Bouchard out of the lineup, which, I mean, if next game it better be either Bear or Jones. Larson played. I mean, he played his game. He was all right, but there was many frustrating things You go, John, and then we can work off that.
I'll say this. Oilers fans, if you're visiting Twitter, if you're going on Twitter and putting the blame on the fact that Chris Russell came into the lineup for Bouchard, like you were, I don't even know if you like have been paying attention to the hockey. Like there are so many other. This is what I've said about this team, and again, I don't know why it's like this big mathematical equation. People have to overthink it. I'm sorry, this team on paper, yes, they made some moves for their depth. Tell me the depth. Bro, Kyle Turris was Kyle Turris
John,
was supposed to be your solution for your third line center. There's no way that's a solution.
Dude, listen. I realize you can understand this, but the 12 games before this, we went like 10-1-1 or something like that. Like we're not a bad team. The Leafs had a good. You got to admit, the Leafs probably played their best fucking 3 games stretch. Like I don't know in how long. Like they were good. What do you want me to say? There's a lot. I'm tired. Like if we play the Canucks with some of these same efforts or the Flames, we're getting goals. And I don't mean to friggin' like I mean maybe not goals, but we're like we might be getting some wins. Like we were snake bitten. We were shooting at the crest. But you got to say like it's not the Oilers are still in a playoff spot. It's not like they're totally like fucked. I mean they kind of are because they're goaltending, but in the grand scheme of things, their depth was scoring, their defense was scoring. We had a shitty 3 games, but I'm not going to sit here and say this is the end of the world. We played bad against you guys. We play the Flames next. We play the Sens in a 3-game series. We can win these games, and we've proven we've won these games. Okay, so I mean, your Leafs team's good. Congratulations, fucking finally. But like, I don't know what else you want me to say. It's not like we're the fucking Sens at the bottom of the division.
I get that, and this is not even like that's what I'm saying. Like it's a big just a misinterpretation of like, and that's where I come in and say like, okay, obviously I'm happy for my team, but also this is not even me saying like the Oilers are just like shit, they're trash. Like I'm frustrated because I have the same like I feel that, and I'm looking at a situation where okay, great, the fourth line had a few games like Jujhar Khaira, who was just a guy that was in such big conversation like waivers, and then was he going to be in this lineup? But and then the fourth line was playing decent. But I look at the Oilers' third line and fourth line, and I'm like, okay, is there much of a difference here? Like you're supposed to have different dynamics to your team, and when it comes down to it, and this is just it, yeah, of course. The difference between the Oilers in the games previously and the games against the Leafs here is the Leafs were able to shut down McDavid. And again, I don't think it's any secret, Connor McDavid is the best offensive player in the league. So if you're going to shut down McDavid, you're essentially, in a big way, shutting down the Edmonton Oilers. Obviously, there's different aspects. You have that Draisaitl line. The Draisaitl line in the second half of the game, specifically in that second period, dominated the Matthews line. They dominated the Matthews line. That's not something light to say. Draisaitl, Yamamoto, and Nuge, for many shifts in the second period, dominated the line of Matthews, Marner, and Thornton. That's no secret. So you look at that, that's a positive. But at the end of the day, the McDavid line was irrelevant. And outside of that, you're not going to get, I'm sorry, you're not going to get enough from a good team out of that bottom six. And you saw it against the Blackhawks, Jeff. We did see it. Obviously, it was a goaltending and defense issue. But in terms of matchup game, you can't just rely on a top six and then hope for a good forechecking game from your bottom six. My point is, I think the Oilers, they're a very hot and cold team. When they're hot, they can go on a 5 or 6 game winning streak. When they're cold, they're going to go on a 5 or 6 game losing streak. I said it. I said they were going to finish probably top 3 in the division for the sake of, I think their winning streaks, their positives are going to be more long lasting than their losing streaks. And I confidently believe in that. Look at that. Look at the record. Look at the stretch they put together. They're going to lose 3 straight. They lost 3 straight against the Leafs. And now they're going into games against the Flames, against the Sens. They're going to win at least 50% of that. At least 50%. If you're talking about the Sens, right, they should win at least 2 of those 3. And the Saturday one against the Canucks, and then the Flames, they should win at least 1 of them. Maybe 2, right? At least that. You put that together, that's another winning stretch. Again, that's my point. That's my point with the Edmonton Oilers. They're a good team in this division. But when I have the conversation of North Division, yeah, it's a little weaker, and the Oilers probably benefit from that. And the Leafs will probably benefit from that, and maybe the Jets, and maybe the Habs. It's a little bit weaker than the East Division, fair. But for the Edmonton Oilers, they still have holes, and we talked about it going to the season. I mean, you know what? Maybe we'll have the conversation about the Leafs going forward. Who knows? Montreal, Winnipeg, are they getting into that conversation? But I still look at this Canadian division, and I'm like, okay, is there a cup contender here? I don't know. And the Oilers, man, they just have way too many holes. For me, the Oilers are like the Leafs of like 2018 for me right now. They have a really good offensive team.
I'm not gonna preach their cup contender because obviously you're not going to win a cup when you can't even trust one of your two starters, and the third goalie you picked up might be better than those two right now. But there's a couple things I want to go over there. The McDavid point. I mean, yeah, the Leafs did basically what other teams need to do. They just hounded him, and they got down on one knee with their sticks in the defensive zone, and they got in front of shots. They shut him down well. That's fair, and they work off the cycle a lot of the time, obviously, and they work off power plays, which I don't know. You could tell me what the power play stats were tonight: 5-0, 4-0. I mean, they were. I mean, to be fair, they were penalties, but we weren't getting these. Like McDavid was getting shut down by these Leafs guys, which is proper. But I don't see teams like the Canucks being able to have like the strength and the ability to shut him down, and I don't see that because we didn't see that. So I mean, we'll see what happens with McDavid. They did do a good job shutting him down. In terms of secondary scoring, the secondary scoring, you mentioned these bottom six wingers, but you didn't mention the defense, dude. The defense is where Nurse was like and Barrier at the top of the league in points. That's where a lot of the secondary scoring we're getting is coming from, which I realize is not reliable. But to answer your question, you were commenting on the shitty fourth line and stuff like that, which is fair. But I mean, that's where you can find the goals where we were winning these winning streaks and we were getting that secondary scoring and the Jujar line, which obviously dried up tonight and Jujar looked like shit, but we'll see. So yeah, I don't know. In terms of cup contenders, your last point, yeah, I don't see it. I could like I said, I was impressed by the Leafs, dude. Like you guys play a good time. Before, if I wasn't a hockey YouTuber, I would keep these opinions to myself and I'd say fuck it. But because I am, I got to give them my respect. You know, they were good. But I mean, like I said, the goaltending should be like tried to figure out, I suppose, but it's going to be really hard in the middle of the COVID season.
Yeah.
And in terms of everything else, yeah, we got to basically rely on playing
Well,
teams that are worse than the Leafs. And luckily, like you said, the North Division is bad, and a lot of the teams are worse than the Leafs.
yeah, like I said, I wouldn't say it's bad, but I mean, it's weaker in terms of. I mean, you look at the second half. Yeah, so when you play the Flames and Sens, you can get wins there.
The Jets are really good.
Yeah. So my point, yeah, I mean, to kind of cap off what you just said, and to the goalie thing, like Mike Smith, I don't know why it was a surprise to people either. Like, I'm not saying Mike Smith played like shit because he actually made some huge saves at some points in this game, which is like it's not a positive thing to say. It was a 6-1.
He was an idiot with Hyman in that
Yeah,
situation,
that was,
but
and that's my problem. Also, like, I mean, this is the one game where I'll just confidently say for other games the refereeing has just been shit, but this game, like people are gonna be like, okay, 5 power plays for the Leafs, but let's also have an understanding that 3 or 4 of the power plays of the 5 were already when the Leafs were up 4-1. So it was just the Oilers in frustration. So it's not like early on. I thought the Leafs were super disciplined. I thought they could have probably got 1 penalty tonight. Either
yeah,
way,
I'd say 5-2 or like 4-2 would have been fair.
yeah. So I mean, I don't know, man. I mean, when it comes down to it, you could see the frustration from a guy like McDavid, and yeah,
Yeah.
I mean that's what's gonna happen with the Oilers. They got to make at least one addition. I'd say maybe 2. And I know it's been a conversation in the chat recently on streams and on Twitter. There's guys out there that they can acquire to play with McDavid, whether it's a Ricard Raquel, a Philip Forsberg, a Mikael Granlund. You can go down the list. There's guys that they can acquire. So I think that's one of the moves that the Oilers will consider, Ken Holland will consider. But you also don't want to give up a lot. Like Raquel might be the fit because he's got term of this year and next. So it might make sense. You don't really want to give up a lot for a rental, especially if you're a team that's like, are we a team that can make noise in the playoffs? Maybe not. I don't know. But it's still early. We're getting
Dude,
just
I
to
know,
halfway
dude.
point.
I was just feeling like I was feeling so confident watching this team against the Canucks, and like the Canucks have good players as well, but I just think the Leafs just kind of like showed why they've got that good record, I guess. But still, like not a huge. Obviously, don't like the Leafs, but I mean, I'll give it. Like I said, I'll give it the respect. Yeah,
Any
I
last
don't
positive
know.
points, I guess, or anything
Whatever
going to
gets,
the next
I
games?
like that Raquel. I like that Raquel idea. Whatever gets Neil off that first line is good in my books. But
Yeah.
yeah.